Hello, ladies and gentlemen. In this little screencast, we're going to be talking about how to take notes and keep track of your sources during this research project. Much of this information you've done before in Comm Arts or even in your history class, but this is a bigger project than any of those. It's more in-depth, and a lot of this work you're going to be doing on your own. And so it's really important that you understand how to collect your notes or take your notes, and then how to keep track of your sources. And the first thing you need to understand is that when you're doing your research, that the internet isn't broken, but it does need you to be a discerning user. That means you need to look at it with an eye of that you can't believe everything you see. Here's an example. You can look at these two things here. Both insist that these quotes come from these people. Albert Einstein on the left, never trust quotes coming from the internet. And then over on the right, the problem with quotes on the internet is that it is hard to verify their authenticity. Neither of these guys said these quotes, but by placing the picture and the quote with them together, it creates a situation where people can be deceived. And so you have to look at things that are created on the internet with an eye of being skeptical about what you're seeing. All right, sources to use or not to use. For example, once you've gotten your research questions created, the next step is to go into an internet index like Google and start searching for information. Once you find a website, you need to determine, do you understand the information? If you don't understand the information, it's going to be hard for you to use that source. Videos are available on virtually every one of these topics on YouTube. You still have to analyze where that video is coming from. You still have to analyze whether that source is a good source. But the first step in deciding whether you should use that source or not is, do you understand the information? Then you need to ask yourself, does the information on this website, in this book, in this video, answer one of your research questions? If the information doesn't answer your research question, then you don't need to take notes on it. It might not even be a source that you would use for your research paper. Another question you need to ask is, do at least two of your sources give the same information? So you need to be careful that when you're using your sources, are they saying the same things? Are they giving the same information? And then finally, this is, I think, one of the biggest ones, and something that, you know, if you're in my history class, we've talked about all year. Is the source reliable? Does it have an author? Does it give their qualifications? Is it written by someone that's dependable? Is the organization that is creating it, is it dependable? So let's take a look here. On the left, here is an excerpt from, you can see the source down here, history.com/topics Pearl Harbor. So this is from the History Channel website, and it's some information about Pearl Harbor. If you were doing your research paper on Pearl Harbor, you would read this, and the first thing you need to ask yourself is, do you understand what it's trying to say? The second thing is, does the information answer one of your research questions? Do at least two of your sources give the same information? We're going to see another source in a second. And then, is the source reliable? Is the History Channel a dependable organization putting out websites? If the answer to that is yes, then absolutely use it. All right. Why don't you, if you'd like to, pause it and read that paragraph. Okay. Well, now that you're back, I've switched the slides, and now on the left we have the first source. So over here is our first source, and then here is a second source. You can see this comes from pearlharbor.org. And I've underlined the things that are similar in both sources. But it's really important as you read through both these, actually, if you would like to, pause right now and read through both of these just to see where the connections are. All right. One of the things that you need to watch out for and read carefully is that these two sources have different numbers, but they both could be correct. You can see on the left it says more than 2,000 American soldiers and sailors died in the attack, and another 1,000 were wounded. And then over here, over 3,500 Americans were killed or wounded in 2 waves of terror. Think about why both of those could be correct. One talks about American soldiers and sailors. The other talks about 3,500 Americans. Okay? When you add in the wounded on the left-hand side with the 1,000 wounded, you get about the same number that you get on the right-hand side. So they could both be correct numbers, but you need to be careful that those numbers match up. You need to watch out for that and be careful of that your sources don't contradict themselves. All right, so now I've got those 2 sources. So then the next step is to actually take some notes on that. Now you could do notes in a number of different ways. You could have index cards, that look like this. You could have index cards. You could have you could use PowerPoint slides as electronic index cards, or you could just do them on a plain old-fashioned piece of paper from a notebook. Whatever you choose is fine with me, as long as you use that method of taking notes the entire time. Okay, so if you're going to use a PowerPoint to keep track of your notes, then do that for all of your notes. If you're going to use a notebook, do that for all of your notes. If you're going to use index cards, do that for the whole paper. You want to be careful when you're writing down notes that you're not writing complete sentences. So you want to have bullet points. If you have bullet points, it will prevent you from plagiarizing. It also helps to, when you have bullet points, you generally put down things in your own words or you paraphrase them. And so you can see on the screen here what you see on the top of my note card. And again, this could come from this could be on a notebook, it could be on an actual note card, or it could be on a PowerPoint. But what I've highlighted here, this is my research question that I've taken from my packet that I brainstormed at the start of my research, and the 2 sources I just looked at help me answer that question. The question is, what happened on the morning Pearl Harbor was attacked? And so I took things from the previous slides, information from these 2 sources, and I bullet pointed them, I paraphrased them into bullet points onto my note card. And you can see I've got those there. Now you could have done this on a regular note card, you could have done it on a PowerPoint slide, or you could have done it on a piece of paper. As long as you have the 2 main things, you need to have the question, the research question that you are trying to answer, your information, and I guess there's a third thing that we're going to talk about next, and that is the source you got that information from. So once you've got your note card done, then you want to either put on the note card, or if you're using the PowerPoint template, there's the next slide is the bibliography slide, or on a notebook, you want to make sure you write down your source so that when you get towards the end of your research, you can go into EasyBib and put your sources into EasyBib and create a bibliography for the end of the paper. Now what I'm going to show you here, this is what the PowerPoint template looks like on Moodle. So when you go to Moodle and access the PowerPoint template, this is what it looks like. And each slide then represents a note card. So I would have my body paragraph, 1 topic, and then my research question would go up on top here. And then here is where I would place my notes. Then the next slide is where I would click onto the EasyBib link, copy and paste the website address into EasyBib, put in whatever information I need, have them create a citation, and then I would copy and paste that citation there. Then I would move on to my next question and get as many notes as I could from there, and could repeat that for all of my questions. You could do it on this PowerPoint template. Again, I keep repeating this, but you can do it on that template. You could do it on regular note cards, or you could just do it on a piece of paper in your notebook. Whatever you choose is fine with me. Okay? Once you have all of your sources cited, then you put them together into a final bibliography, and that final bibliography is going to be alphabetized by the first word. and that will be part of your final hand-in project. Okay. The really important thing here is being skeptical about the websites you look at. Don't believe everything that you see on those. And the second part of this is make sure that you're jotting down the notes and keeping track of your notes, making sure that they're organized. If you have questions about this, please let your teacher know and they can help you with that. Thanks.